Hey guys, it's Kyle from GeekRex.com, and we're here in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina for HeroesCon 2014. So it's Saturday at HeroesCon, the busiest day at the con, as you can see. Lots and lots of people here milling about, meeting their favorite creators, buying comic books, getting things signed, buying posters, getting sketches done, you name it. It's a very busy time. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go around, talk to a few creators, get a few interviews in, and get you an inside peek at some of the best comics that are out right now.
Hey guys, we're here at HeroesCon with Van Jensen. Congrats on the new edition of Pinocchio Vampire Slayer. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's kind of tough to beat like 500 plus pages for 25 bucks. I feel like it's a good deal, but it's just really nice to have, you know, it was this story that we told over a number of years, and to have it all collected in one place and remastered. And, you know, we've built up a lot of fans over the years, which, you know, has been great. But yeah, we've had a great response to it. And then, you know, there are new people who have sort of found that book through the superhero stuff that I'm doing. So it's kind of cool to say this is the book that got me in the door at DC.
Yeah. Speaking of your DC stuff.
Yeah, so right now in Green Lantern Corps, we're doing a crossover with Green Lantern that's called Uprising. That's basically the entire universe turning against the Lanterns. It's a really big, pretty crazy story that Rob Venditti and I are telling, and we've got I guess 2 more issues of that coming out next month. And then we have a pretty major thing coming up in the Green Lantern universe that we're working on right now that unfortunately I can't go into, but details will be coming out soon on that.
Awesome. Very, very exciting. So you guys are also working on Flash. So what did you feel any kind of particular pressure bringing back kind of a fan favorite like Wally West?
You know, I mean, the pressure is always there just because there's a lot of attention on superhero books. So, I mean, you just set out to tell the best story that you can and hope that fans respond to it. I mean, I think you can get overly caught up in that kind of stuff. And really, The Flash has been totally a dream to work on because, you know, Rob and I have been good friends for years, and so we have a great time working on it. And then the whole art team, Brett Booth, Norm Rapman, Andrew Dahlhaus, I mean, they're all super, super talented, and we all have a lot of fun together. So I don't know, I mean, Green Lantern Corps is just complicated because there are so many characters and, you know, complicated continuity and all that. In Flash, it's like, we get to write about a dude who runs really fast. Like, I got that, you know, he's on Earth, he's not on other planets, at least yet. So no, it's been a total dream to work on it, yeah.
So we wanted to say too, congratulations on the Kickstarter funding for the leg. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and where people can get that?
Yeah, so we ran a Kickstarter campaign for this book called The Leg, which is a very weird book that it was actually the first book I ever wrote. It's Santa Anna's disembodied leg adventuring through Mexico in 1938, and it was kind of, I don't know, it was this goofy idea that I had, but it was like an excuse to write about stuff that I love, which is Mexican history and folklore, which is, you know, really, really weird and fascinating. And Jose Pimienta is the artist on it who grew up in Mexico, and so we, you know, totally finished the book and ran a Kickstarter campaign, which, you know, was successful, and we're thrilled about that. We're actually getting ready to send the book to print. We don't have it available online yet, but we're going to distribute it through Top Shelf. So it'll be available soon, but also if anyone wants it, they can, I don't know, send me an email or contact me through Twitter, and we can work something out. So
last thing we want to ask you about is just if you have anything coming up, any new projects you might want to talk about or anything like that.
I've got a number of things coming up that unfortunately I can't really talk about yet, but I'm staying very busy, and I don't know, I'm just thrilled to have the chance to write comics full time. You know, it's the thing that I dreamed of doing since I was a little kid, so it's, I don't know, a little bit surreal to actually get to wake up in the morning and, you know, make my coffee and start writing comics.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're glad to see you here.
Yeah, thanks for the interview.
Hey guys, I'm here with Kevin Spooner, one of the biggest cosplayers in the entire Southeast, throughout the entire country. Really exciting to be able to chat with him a little bit. So you, sir, you're dressed up as whom now?
Loki.
Well,
I'm Thor, the mighty god of thunder.
Now,
Yeah.
what made you choose to dress up as Thor for these many conventions you go to in the costume?
I have been doing this for about, I think my first year doing any kind of costuming or cosplay was 2007, and I had done a bunch. I had done Captain America, I had done Batman, I had done a few lesser-known characters like the Sentry, and I'd done Hawkeye. One year I did, on kind of a lark, I just said, what if I just do Thor? Just like, it'll be easy, it'll be just because, I found some kind of, the fabric that would sort of work for it, and I kind of put it together out of the stretchable pleather sort of material, and it was good. As happens to a lot of cosplayers is that you do one and then it just takes off, and people won't let you ever, never can I ever not do this anymore at a convention. This has to come out at least once. So it's really nice to get that kind of attention, and when you get like kind of known for one thing and it gets attached to it, you have to kind of keep upping your game. So this is the first time I've been to HeroesCon, and this one in particular, and only the second time I've worn it to a convention, this version of this suit. The only thing that's the same from my original is the cape. Yeah.
What was the process in getting this one made, or did you make it yourself?
I made portions of it myself, but this is real leather right here. You can feel it. It's this was actually commissioned from the good people at Twisted World, and we went through a process of sort of designing it and talking about what was going to go into it, the piping, the gauge of the leather and everything, and then that was commissioned and sent to me, and then I wound up doing these. The discs are my own making and everything. These are actually those little convex mirrors that you stick on your rearview mirror on a vehicle. Yeah, so.
Really good.
Yeah. So don't be afraid of finding things and using them and doing them, for whatever purpose you find them. It's always very nice to find something and use it for its unintended purpose, but it really works really well. So yeah. If
If somebody wanted to get into the passion of cosplay, the hobby of cosplay, what would right? What would be the first piece of advice you'd give someone?
Well, I would say first of all, do what you like. This is about an expression of fandom. So don't do what other people expect you to do. Do what appeals to you. Find a character that you like. Don't feel hemmed in by whatever boundaries you think you have. Just go for it. You can find what you like and just do it. Express yourself. You'll get a big kick out of doing it. If you like attention, and you will get attention. Oh boy, we don't do this because we're shy. So yeah, find what you like, do it. Talk to people in the scene. I try to make myself as approachable as possible. Most of the rest of us are very, we're very friendly. We're very open about it. And if we're asked questions about how we made something or how we, wanted to craft a project, it's always good to just, talk to people and figure out the process. I love it.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I see you got a lot of people who want to take pictures with you, so
right.
so we'll let you do that. But thank you again,
thank you very much.
We'll see you around the con, sir.
All right, man.
All right.
Do it.
Bah!
One of the things I really like about HeroesCon, it's kind of unique, is the live art area we've got here. So this is where various artists from the con get to come and demonstrate their craft in a live setting. So people get to hang out and relax and just watch people paint or draw these amazing pieces. And then at the end of the con, they get auctioned off for charity. So it's a really unique thing. It's very cool. You get to see some really interesting pieces that you wouldn't see elsewhere. So just one of the very cool things about HeroesCon.
I'm here with Raphael Albuquerque, the co-creator of American Vampire. How are you enjoying your HeroesCon, sir?
It's a very good show. It's my first time here in Charlotte, and I'm having a lot of fun.
How does it compare to other shows you've been to in the past, like San Diego and other shows in New York and that?
I think the coolest thing is this is all about comics and art, and I think everybody who's here is really interested on the kind of art we do. And not that I don't like movies or TV shows and everything, but when we go to San Diego or New York, wherever, all the highlight tends to go to these things and not the comics. Even when these shows started with comics, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's really cool to see that this show keeps the roots of the comics going on, and it's really important.
Absolutely. Now, you and Scott Snyder have just started the volume 2, the second cycle of American Vampire. What did that new volume present to you in terms of challenges and opportunities for the title going forward?
Right. Well, it's pretty much about. I think I can say that the focus of the book will change a bit. It's gonna be more focused on Skinner now. Of course, Pearl will still being one of the main characters and everything, but we will understand why Skinner is the way he is. And that's the cool thing about Second Cycle. The other thing is that it tends to be even more darker and grittier. I mean, we are going to the finale of the thing, so we are really going to see where things are going and the whole, I don't know, the whole plot kind of getting together and finishing it, you know?
The American Vampire is marked for its very varying types of vampires. When you design these different types of vampires, what sort of influences do you pull for like the Carpathians and for the various other types?
Right, yeah, the Carpathians are pretty much the representation of the classic vampire we know in pop culture, so Dracula and, you know, all these guys are Carpathians in our universe. However, pretty much everything we want is try to bring the most different and unthinkable kind of design we can. So for this new arc and Second Cycle, I had to do like a lot of new designs, and I had to create a lot of new species. So that was our goal, mine and Scott. We wanted to bring something new and different and scary. That's it.
What do you have coming up in the future? Anything beyond American Vampire that you can announce at this point or even talk about?
Not really. I am actually in talks to do other stuff, but I cannot really talk yet. And we still have some American Vampire going on for maybe 2 years or so. So that's where my focus is, my work is right now.
I'm Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers.
Go Carol Core.
Yeah.
So we just like to ask cosplayers, how did you get into this adventure, being able to come to conventions and dress up?
Oh gosh, like when I was 12, I started going to conventions, like anime conventions and stuff, with all my really nerdy friends. And we just started dressing up because we wanted to be the characters that were in like our video games and stuff. So, yeah.
And how do you choose a character you're going to dress up as for a convention?
Personally, I like looking like the character. That's by no means like a prerequisite, but it just so happens that a lot of characters that I like the costumes of also look like me. So that's
that
like
works.
handy. So yeah, I mean, Carol's like awesome and like I relate a lot to her, and I loved the new redesign of the outfit. And I usually do heroes, but like with the Toxie Doxie cosplay that I do, I just really liked the outfit, and she was blonde, so it worked really well. I didn't have to wear a wig.
What was the first costume you wore as cosplay?
I think it was probably a Death Note Mellow cosplay back when I was like 12 or something, or maybe it was something from Xenosaga, maybe. So, yeah.
For the rest of this weekend, are you doing different costumes for the whole weekend? Are you?
Oh yeah, I've already done 2 costumes. I did Toxic Doxie yesterday, and then I switched into the evening into my Captain Marvel mod outfit. And so it's a like Captain Marvel inspired mod dress with like go-go boots. So I call it Captain Marvel envisioned by Janet Van Dyne. Nice. And that's what I'll be wearing around the convention tomorrow too. So I've got 3 costumes for the weekend.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, cool.
So I'm here with Box Brown, the writer and artist on Andre the Giant, Life and Legend, a book we actually recently reviewed on GeekRex.com and loved it. So Box, let me ask you, why Andre the Giant? I know that's a silly question, but...
Well, you know, I was a lifelong pro wrestling fan, and I think really the thing that opened my eyes to the Andre story was not really through WWE. It was there was an A&E biography in like 2000 called, I forget what it's called. It's about Andre's life, and it went in to his whole life before WWE and stuff, and he had this amazing and tragic, unique life. So I always had that kind of as a background, and one day I was reading about wrestling, and I read that Andre had gotten a ride to school from Samuel Beckett, and I thought that would make a really cool comic. So I made that into a comic, and then I made like a couple more, and next thing you know, we had this book.
How much research had to go into this book? Because I know there's a ton of biographical detail and a lot of source material was pulled from.
Yeah, I mean, like every bit of the story is researched and backed up with some sort of facts. Pro wrestling is it's difficult to separate fact from fiction. Even in this era where people are open about stuff, former wrestlers and stuff like that, they're still carny in them, they still are looking to put one over on whoever and whatever it is. So you have to kind of sift through a lot of stuff to kind of, and I just did my best to present the truth as well as I could.
Speaking of pro wrestling, has the pro wrestling community given you feedback on the book itself? Have you heard much from anybody, fans or the actual WWE folks at all?
Mick Foley and old JR, Jim Ross, WWE Hall of Fame announcer. They're both Hall of Famers. They gave us blurbs for the book and said some really nice things about it. And but since the book has come out, yes, I've been contacted by a couple amateur wrestlers, a man who has acromegaly. That was, very complimentary, and all kinds of people have been reaching out. It's really been like a way bigger and more than I ever thought anything would have come about from my wrestling book.
So, in terms of the time it took to create the book, I mean, it's incredibly detailed, a beautiful book. Was it a long process to go from the script stage to actually having a book published?
I kind of don't really work from a script. I just do thumbnails while I'm writing, but yeah, it was. I mean, I had the whole book researched and thumbnailed out before. I had sent for second about 100 pages of completed pages, and then when we decided it was when they accepted it, and when they decided they were going to do this nice book, I felt like I needed to redraw those 100 pages, so I redrew those, but in that meantime, I had thumbnailed out the entire book, and it took a long time. It took probably like 2.5 years between research and drawing and everything.
So when you have the finished product, after you've done all this research about Andre and you've learned, I mean, I'm sure there's more to learn about the man, but you certainly probably learned more than most people. Did it change your perspective on who he was as a person?
It's hard looking back now because I feel like I feel like I've always known all this stuff, but maybe I did learn about it while I was making this book, and in the research of it, I feel like I really identified with Andre, and insofar as like I always throughout my life was trying to fit in, at times felt like an outsider, was lonely, felt like I didn't fit in this world. And I think despite all of Andre's successes and all of his fame and everything, there was part of him that never felt like he really fit in this world. And that's, what I identified with him. And I felt like I felt connected to the man.
So what would you want readers to take away from the picture you've painted about Andre? Is there any sort of underlying thesis about the man?
I think that, for whatever Andre from, whether it's from pro wrestling or from The Princess Bride or other acting roles, or just because he was everybody knew Andre the Giant, I would like people to feel like they walked in his shoes and maybe see him as a human being with all the little idiosyncrasies that every human being has, and at heart is just like anybody else.
Are there any future projects or anything you can talk about that you may have coming up?
I'm working on a series with my publishing company, Retrofit, called Number, and this is the first issue, number 1. And number 2 will be out in September. So that's what I'm working on, amongst other things. I have a couple zines coming out, and maybe working on a new wrestling project. Maybe we'll see.
And where can people get your 2 wonderful books here, both Andre the Giant and number 1?
If you go to boxbrown.com, you will find all things Box Brown. Or go to your local comic book shop.
All right, we are here with Riddle, one of our favorite cosplayers. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well.
So first,
Talking into 2 mics. This is really weird.
tell us about who you're playing today.
I'm cosplaying today as Classic Wasp. I've done her modern version, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll do the classic version, because Wasp is kind of an underappreciated character, as evident by the movies. So that's who I am today.
How did you get started in cosplay in the first place?
Actually, I started cosplaying. I didn't know it was cosplay. I was getting really into anime, and it was Halloween. I was like, man, I really want to dress up as like these really cool characters I'm seeing on my videotapes. VHS kids probably won't know what I'm talking about. But basically, I wanted to dress up as them, and then I had my friend's mom help me make the outfit, and I wore it. No one had any idea who I was. And I just really fell in love with getting to be that character for the moment. And I did it for about a year or 2 before I realized other people did it. And I went to my first convention, it was Anime Expo, and I was just like, this is amazing. Look at all these people being all these characters. And the cool thing about cosplay is generally people who are geeks and nerds are kind of introvert, but if you get them talking about something they're passionate about, they really open up. And cosplay is kind of a way of presenting to everybody what you love. So it's like wearing a t-shirt. If someone wears a Doctor Who t-shirt, they probably like Doctor Who, and you can talk to them about Doctor Who. So cosplay is kind of taking that to the nth degree.
Sure. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's interested in getting into cosplay and doing that?
Kiss all your money goodbye. No, I would honestly say the 2 biggest pieces of advice I can give is 1, pick a character that you love or that you would want to be like, or maybe that inspires you, because what's going to happen is you're going to be investing your time and your money to create the costume or find the pieces. So you want to make sure it is a labor of love. Cosplay is a labor of love. And then my second piece of advice is have patience, because you want to create something you're proud of. You don't want to rush it and get frustrated and then just get completely discouraged and never want to do it again. So, and if you're patient, you can find that exact right, jacket, or, work on the pattern or make it look exactly like the way you want. So just give yourself time and pick a character that you love.
Well, do you have any big projects or costumes coming up that you can speak about?
Yeah, I actually have one project that I'm really excited about. I actually started an organization called Cosplay for a Cause a couple years ago. In our first project, we did a calendar, and I got cosplayers all over the world, and we did I can't remember what year, 2012 calendar, and we raised $30,000 for the Japanese Red Cross when the tsunami hit. And I've done a couple other smaller projects since then, but currently I'm putting the finishing touches on another calendar, and the theme is superheroes with animals. So it's got 18 different cosplayers, men and women, and they're all in their superhero outfits with animals, and 100% of the proceeds go to the Wildlife Conservation Society. So, and with that, I'm doing a Squirrel Girl costume. And I'm really excited about that, because I raise and rescue baby squirrels and release them back into the wild. So I kind of get to combine 2 things that I love.
That works out. So where can people get that, and any of your wonderful prints or anything like that? Where can people find those things?
The best place to find me is on Facebook. It's facebook.com, Riddle's Messy Wardrobe. On Twitter and Instagram, it's Riddle, but the L is a 1. So it's RIDD1E. And then as for the charity project, it's cosplayforacause.com.
So we're here with Cliff Chang, the artist and co-storyteller on what's probably the best book in DC's whole entire New 52 line, Wonder Woman. Cliff, how are you enjoying your HeroesCon?
It's great, thanks. I missed out last year, and coming back, it's great to see. They've got this huge hall.
and it's really busy. How does it compare to like San Diego and New York? I really like the fact that the focus is really on comics here. It's on comics and it's on creators, and they get such a great guest list every year. It's an awesome chance for us to kind of mingle with each other and talk to the fans, and because it's so laid back, I guess, like I'm not listening to like video game music, pounding in one ear and then, somebody else in the other. So it's really comfortable, and it's a great, I always leave Heroes feeling invigorated and ready to get back to comics. Well, we're really glad you're here. So just to jump towards the beginning of your run with Brian Azzarello on Wonder Woman, how did that partnership come about? I know y'all worked together before, I think on the Dr. 13 short stories, but how did it come about that you were going to make a pitch for Wonder Woman? Seemed to be the other way around. They actually pitched Brian the idea of Wonder Woman, and he approached me. We were supposed to be working on a first wave Batman series that didn't happen, and he called me about Wonder Woman, and we spoke for hours, and we're really intrigued by the idea of it. So a few months later, it's when we started working. Yeah. So in terms of this long-term arc that you've planned together, is it basically ending in a position that you had started with? I mean, when you first came up with the idea of this is going to be our ending, was that right there from the very beginning, or has it sort of evolved over time? It's evolved a bit, but the basic shape of the story, I think, has been there from the beginning. Okay. What about the redesigns of the Greek pantheon? I mean, I'm a bit of a mythology nerd myself. Yeah. So to see like this really cool redesign of like Hades with the melted candle on his face, and and Poseidon as a giant frog. I mean, what inspires you to redesign the characters in such a way? We wanted to get away from the classical toga look, the sort of Clash of the Titans kind of feel of some of the other interpretations. So we wanted something that was more like urban fantasy. And we thought about what each god, what their characteristics were, what their personalities were going to be like, and if there was some sort of visual hook we could add to it to hang it all on. So once we did that, I would shoot off some sketches to Brian, see if it needed to be crazier, and it was a great process of just going back and forth, really talking about the story and what the characters needed to do in it. War, there was a funny discussion. I asked him, well, what should he look like? He's going to be a pretty big character. He's like, well, he's an old man with a beard. He's kind of tired, and I was laughing. I was like, he sounds like you, Brian. And he's like, yeah, make him look like me. And then I went back and did the sketch and sent it back to him, and and he laughed, but he liked it. He also liked, that it does fit with him, even if you don't know what Brian looks like. It works for the character. Now, your run is about to end, though there hasn't really been an announced date of when that's going to be. Do you know when the stopping point is at this point? Yeah, we're still, trying to figure out how much room we need for the ending. So it'll be in the fall. Okay, excellent. And so what comes next after Wonder Woman ends? Is there anything that you can talk about at this point? No, not yet. Not yet. Unfortunately, it's a little too early. Oh, all right. What do you hope is the lasting impact of your run on this character? I hope that, we've just kind of added to the mythos, that people, I think the best thing that we've done is probably bring some new, different readers to the book. I hear that at every show. A lot of people have been very hesitant to jump onto Wonder Woman just because of the, all the continuity and years of publishing history. And they felt like with the New 52, they were able to jump on, that they didn't need to know a lot of prior history of her. So that's been a great thing. Just knowing that there are a lot of readers who come up and say, I was always interested in Wonder Woman, didn't know where to start. Here's, and I love the book. So it's been cool to try and broaden the audience. Absolutely.
We are here with Matt Wilson, colorist extraordinaire, works on Wonder Woman and the book Wicked and the Divine, and is moving over to Daredevil, which congratulations. It's an excellent book to go to. Yeah, can't wait. So one of the first things we wanted to ask was, what was your entry point into the comics business? Did you start as a colorist, or how did that work?
Yeah. I went to art school and actually studied comics, and started working for another colorist, Lee Lowridge, and he had his coloring studio, and I flatted for him and scanned pages and assisted him and a bunch of other stuff. and then worked for him for a few years and slowly met people here at shows, and you know, they would need their image books colored for free, and I just wanted to get my name in a book, so one thing led to another. That's how I met Jamie and Kieran and that kind of thing, and so yeah, I've not done anything in comics other than color, and so yeah.
So what is your process when you get the inked pages? How does that process work when you start out?
So the first thing I'll do is send them off to my flatter, who's like an assistant, and he'll put basic flat shapes of color in, you know. So it's easy for me to just click and grab those colors and, you know, do what I need to do to them. And then when I get that back, I'll check out any notes from the artist or read the script, see if there's any cues I need to pick up on, what I need to do for the colors, and then get into it. I'll color the background first usually, then go take a pass on the characters, and then, you know, tweak the backgrounds, kind of go back and forth until I got it where I want it, and yeah, do that 20 times over, and there you go.
Cool. One of the things I kind of find fascinating about color in comics is just the palette that gets used for different books. So what goes into that decision for picking a palette for a book?
I mean, there's a couple of things I think of. I mean, it's all based on storytelling though. So, you know, like time of day, indoor, outdoor, you know, like in a desert or in an Arctic tundra. I mean, so those are some of the things that go into like some of the literal colors that help set a scene. But then there can be, you know, like emotional cues that you need to play off of. And then sometimes those mix, like a crazy dance club, you know, you got bright lights that can be literal colors that are there, but then you can use them, you know, for emotional effect. So time, space, emotion, all that stuff, just to help tell the story. Yeah, so those are kind of like the big main thoughts that I use when I think about palettes.
The Wicked and the Divine that came out this week, which is fantastic, by the way. What's your working relationship with Jamie McKelvey and Kieran Gillen? You've been with them for a while now.
Yeah, like 7 or 8 years. Yeah, a while. It's great. We talk all the time over email, and I went to Thought Bubble this last year over in the UK, and you know, sat with them at a show, and I mean, we all get along great. I mean, we don't see each other too often because of the geographical divide, but Jamie usually has notes in general, like about what he's thinking, or he'll be sending me things. Like something I asked him the other day, I'm like, can you just tell me where this character would shop? And he like sent me a link to like a store, you know, like, so, because I was like, I having trouble coming up with shirt colors for her. And so I wrote him, what are you thinking? And so, like, you know, that kind of thing, we'll do that a lot. And then our working process, like the pages Jamie sends me, we've got it really down to a science where he'll have certain elements that would be maybe more difficult for me to go in and manipulate on the back end, but they're easy for him to draw separately because he works digitally. And so over the years, we've like developed this process to where when I get the file, it's got a lot of parts to it and I know exactly what I want to do with those and how I want to use them. And so yeah, it keeps things rolling a lot quicker, a lot smoother. So yeah, it's great. And then Kieran, you know, Jamie and I do a lot of the back and forth right at first when I start coloring, and then then goes back to Jamie and Kieran, and Kieran usually has a little to put in, but oftentimes it's just Jamie and I really getting into the meat of it, and then we kind of go in another pass with everybody at the end. And so, but it's great. Yeah, we have, you know, a lot of fun working together.
What do we have to look forward to for that book as far as what's coming next, or anything you're working on outside of that as well? What's coming next for you?
For me, I've got more Wonder Woman with Cliff. I pointed like you guys know he's over there, but he is. And I've got Wicked and Divine, which the first issue had a great reception, so hopefully we'll be allowed to do that for a long time. And at DC, I'm also doing Swamp Thing. And then over at Marvel, I've got Secret Avengers, and then I'm going to be starting on Daredevil on number 8. And I've got a book over at Dark Horse, Terminator, The Final Battle, and a few others that are in the works but haven't been announced yet. So, yeah.
There's lots of awesome stuff available. Could you guys tell us a little bit about how you got started getting into cosplay, why you guys feel passionate about coming and hanging out and everything in costume?
Well, I've been doing this for 10 years. I got involved in this through the anime crowd, and I got in comics with my husband, and we've been very happy doing this together.
Yeah. I've been in the hobby for about a decade too. I got it with the video game route.
What was the first costume you guys ever did as cosplay?
I think it was us, Jean and Melfina from Outlaw Star. We, as a couple cosplay. My first costume was Sailor Mercury from Sailor Moon back in 2002. Was my first one.
My first cosplay was Squall Lanehart from Final Fantasy VIII back in 2001.
Any other plans to do other costumes here at the con this weekend? Are you guys doing this all weekend?
Actually, we're doing Hawkeye and Spider-Woman later today for the Costume Comic panel.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we just finished day 3 at HeroesCon 2014. It's Sunday. We're tired. We're gonna go home. But we had a great time. Talked to a lot of creators, talked to a lot of cosplayers, had a lot of fun, maybe spent too much money. But HeroesCon is one of the best comic conventions in the country, so feel free to come on out next year. Come join us, and we'll be back next year. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.